Welcome to Silver Creek School Corporation's regularly scheduled school board meeting. Today is February 15th. And at this time, if we could rise, Mr. Groen is going to lead us in the pledge, followed by the invocation by Mr. Ballmer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you again that we can gather tonight, make some very important decisions for our school district. We just give you thanks for the many blessings that you've given us, our great students, a wonderful faculty that does everything within their power each and every day to educate our students, to give them an engaging and safe learning environment. We just thank for all the above and beyond measures that they do each and every day and to treat those kids as their own. We ask that you will just watch over our families out there that may be dealing with the illness as we continue to work through this pandemic. We want to thank all of them for their support as we've had to make tough decisions that we feel are in the best interest of our students. I ask that you will be with our board and our staff tonight as they continue to make the very best decisions to move our district forward. We thank you for all that you've given us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Roll call. Ms. Franklin.
Present.
Mr. Basham.
Here.
Ms. Bright.
Here.
Mr. Groen.
Present.
And I am present. We have quorum. Dr. Briggs, do you have any emergency additions or revisions to the agenda?
Yes, good evening. I do have some revisions to the agenda. First of all, under number 3, approval of minutes. I recommend that you strike letter B, January 25th, 2022, Board of Finance meeting minutes. Only the Board of Finance can approve the Board of Finance minutes, and the Board of Finance meets once a year, the second meeting in January. So it would be premature to have the regular board approve those tonight. Another change would be under consent agenda number 9. If you look, consent agenda, Roman numeral 6, number 9, we would like to add Climatic LLC, $350 for teacher awards as a donation. And then also under consent agenda, under letter E, other, Roman numeral 2, the addition would be request to approve Rachel Bright as the Silver Creek School Corporation Board of Trustees Legislative Liaison. And then lastly, the original agenda had 2 number 9s. So I've made number 10 the discussion action item. So the original number 9 stands, which is consent agenda. Number 10 will be discussion action items. Number 11 will now be comments, reports, and announcements. Number 12 will be next meeting dates. And number 13 would be adjournment. That is it. Thank you.
You've heard Dr. Briggs' emergency additions and revisions to the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Ms. Bright makes the motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Groen seconds. Any discussion needed or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next, we have the approval of minutes from the January 25th, 2022 regular school board meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Franklin makes the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Basham seconds. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from the January 27th, 2022 work session. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll
So
make that
moved.
motion.
Ms. Franklin makes the motion. Mr. Basham, would you like to second?
Second.
Mr. Basham seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Lastly, in minutes, we have the January 27th, 2022, Dr. Briggs, that should say.
That should be 2022. Thank you.
That is correct. January 27th, 2022 executive session. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll give Mr. Groen the motion.
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Basham, would you like to second?
Second.
Mr. Basham will second. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Student staff recognition.
Yes, no student staff recognition. However, as part of recognition in general, I want to give an update to our COVID plan. And then we also have a guest presenter from CSO and Skillman to give us a projects update. First, on our COVID plan, just want to update the board that based on our chart on the website, our positivity rates are down greatly. In the last 2 weeks, we're averaging less than 0.5% positivity rate. Unfortunately, we still have individuals getting positive, but it is much improved. And again, not a surprise. Positivity rates in the county, in the state, are also lower. I also want to remind everyone that our goal has been from day one to keep our students in school. And we have started to look at, or will continue to look at, whether or not the recommendation on our masking should change. At this point, I'm not recommending any changes. Really, it boils down to if we take mask off, we are still mandated from the state health department to quarantine and to contact trace, which could result in healthy people being placed in quarantine. And I believe I know it comes down to whether one is vaccinated or not. If we do not have mask on and you're deemed to be a close contact, if you're vaccinated and you're not sick, you stay in school. We do not have exact information on the vaccination rates of our students or our employees. We are going to work to try and get that information. I cannot speak. Even my gut feeling, I don't even want to sit here and predict what I think the vaccination rate is. But that's my hang up personally on if we do unmask. I do believe we should still follow the rules of the state in that we should contact trace and we should quarantine. But we do not want to quarantine individuals who my common sense would say maybe doesn't need to be quarantined. But I will always follow the rules because that's what we do as a K-12 organization. We follow a lot of rules, and I believe that when the rules are out there, we need to follow them. So right now, the good news is our positive cases are down greatly, and also between me, the admin team, the health team, we're going to continue to review our plan and possibly bring a recommendation to the board in the future. But I am not ready to do so this evening. That's it.
All right. Any questions for Dr. Briggs on the COVID update? All right. At this time, we have Skillman and CSO. I believe we have Brett. Is that Victor? Sorry, I don't have my glasses on, but Victor, is that you? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
So we have Brett and Victor from CSO and Skillman to give us an update on our planning and construction project.
Thank you, Mr. Roundtree, Dr. Briggs, and ladies and gentlemen of the board. It's my pleasure to represent CSO this evening to provide this project update. Just general outline, which I know most of you are very familiar with, but for the community that's here and those who've joined online. In the spring of 2021, the board initiated a process to review facility needs across the district at all their campuses and buildings, assembled those into a kind of an assessment list, was reviewing looks at increasing enrollment and trends to try to put together a plan to address facility needs across the district. Late spring into the early summer, CSO was hired as to provide architectural service, and Skillman was brought on board to handle construction management. And we really began the design process there. CSO was able to meet with a lot of user groups in terms of teachers and staff administrators before they left for school to start gathering input kind of from the boots on the ground. From there, in the mid to late summer and into the fall and winter, CSO has been working on schematic design concepts of how do we address the facility needs, how do we create a space program that addresses the programs, the courses, and things happening, especially at the high school, which is the most complex project. How do we accommodate for the increasing enrollment at different grade levels and do those things. And then towards the middle of the fall, we completed our SD package with the board and administrators, handed that off to Skillman to do a cost estimation, and unsurprisingly, due to the current pandemic situation, labor shortages, and extensive needs at all buildings, we found out we were much farther over budget than originally anticipated. So we did some redesign efforts, and which has kind of delayed our construction start, which is now anticipated to be this summer. Overall, the phasing of these projects is kind of focused into two phases. The high school addition renovation has taken its, I think, rightful place as the highest priority. And then phase two is some additional work at the high school, and then a middle school and primary school additions. I'll go through all of those here in a little bit of detail so you can see what's actually happening at every building. So starting with phase one, there'll be when the project, all parts of phase one are complete, there will be 38 new classrooms. The new classroom designs are going to be designed around central collaboration areas and flex spaces so that curriculum can be delivered a little bit differently. We know school has changed, especially since 1961 when the original high school was built. There'll be small group rooms and breakout areas for students to use in project-based curriculum, as well as if they're making up a test because they missed a day of school, there's an easy place for them to do that without being pulled far away from their classrooms. There'll be 2 new art rooms, 4 new Project Lead the Way labs, a large shared science lab. As we worked with the science teachers and we look at construction cost, creating one large shared space for all science courses to utilize for those lab courses is much more cost effective. And it was something that we worked with your science teacher and science teachers and visited a few other schools in the state that have that type of model to kind of get their buy-in. And I think it's something they're a little bit excited about now. So we're excited for that. There'll be a new centralized student union and media center. You'll see in the plans that's a space that we're hoping kids can hang out in before and after school and really be an active part of the school, kind of the heart of the school. All classrooms will get new instructional technology. There'll be new kitchen and serving lines in the cafeteria. The cafeteria will be expanded to provide more seating space. There'll be a new culinary arts lab. If you've been in the existing building, the culinary arts program operates out of a 1960s home ec lab, so they're really looking forward to an upgrade there. We'll be adding a new TV and radio studio for expanding those programs. There'll be a new main entrance and lobby space off the main gym, and a new expanded administrative offices space. And I will mention the current new administrative office is going to be repurposed for guidance. Just so I know that was a fresh question on everybody's mind. So here's the overall floor plan of the high school after phase one. So what you can see outlined there in yellow is the new square footage that we'll be building. People familiar with the high school building will know there's a very large courtyard that I'm told was meant for a pool at some point. So we're going to be infilling that courtyard with new construction, and that's where actually the new student union, your media center space is going to be. So again, it's going to live right in the heart of the building. Across the front, you'll see there's kind of an orange-red color there to the left. That's the new administration area and new main entrance. Well, double duty essentially as your main event entrance for activities happening in the gym. And it's going to have a really nice kind of lobby and entry experience there. Moving right across the front of the building in that yellow box is the new classroom. So you can see they're perimeter classrooms, so everybody gets windows with flex spaces kind of in the center. Those are those collaboration spaces that I mentioned that allow teachers to let students kind of break out. There'll be glass from those classrooms out to those areas, so we have supervision. On each floor of that new addition, there'll be a teacher work area and resource center for them, staff restrooms, student restrooms, small group areas. So it's going to be a really dynamic area for them. So that's really all of the new construction that will be in phase one, which doesn't sound like a lot. But part of that is because there's a significant amount of renovation that's going to happen. One of the things when we started evaluating the existing high school is it is truly a 1961 structure. So a lot of the construction isn't something that we can easily modify. So most of the existing areas that are getting renovated are essentially going to be demolished down to the structure and the roof. And we're going to relay out walls, run new electrical, new plumbing for all of those spaces. In the center area, you see there next to the student union space in that kind of green blue color. There's first the large shared lab. You kind of see those black lines going kind of tick and tack different ways. That's the large shared science lab. And then there are 7 science classrooms near that area. So they'll all be kind of in the center of the building. And then the 2 new art rooms there are the purple colors you see adjacent. Moving over to the right, the yellow color is the 2 new family and consumer science classrooms, and then the large culinary arts lab. And then the light blue color to the left of those is the TV studio and a couple additional classrooms there. One thing I will mention in phase 1, I did not mention an auditorium, performing arts spaces, as those are going to be part of phase 2. So in this phase 1 floor plan, you'll see the existing auditorium is remaining, as are the existing theater and band classrooms. The last piece I'll highlight here, well, maybe not the last, second to last piece I'll highlight here. The cafeteria is currently in its existing space. The plan there is to build the new kitchen and serving line where the existing large group instruction or GPR room is housed. That will allow us to build that kitchen and serving area before taking the existing kitchen offline. Once the new kitchen and serving lines are up, we'll be able to demolish the existing kitchen, and that will serve as the expansion of the cafeteria. We are also hoping that during lunch times, that student union space over towards the left where the media center is provides a little bit of overflow and a different environment for students to be able to come down and hang out in that area as well. So we know the cafeteria is a congested space. And as the school grows, we'll likely need a little more space to accommodate students. And then the last piece I'll highlight here is the kind of a green-yellow color up in the top left corner. That's the Project Lead the Way labs. Those will be expanding into their kind of in their existing area and overtaking some adjacent square footages. So Project Lead the Way, Biomed, and their cybersecurity and computer courses will all happen there. There are some areas of the building that we are trying to minimally touch, and those are areas of the building that have had investments fairly recently. So I mentioned that the admin area being converted into the guidance counselor's office. There are 4 classrooms on the south end of the building that were very recently added on. Those will likely just receive some minor finish updates and technology updates to be in line with the rest of the new classrooms. Both the main gym and Ox Gym will be very minimally updated. And I think, and the special ed areas that were renovated over the summer will also be left as they are today. There may be some small, pieces and parts of renovations there, but essentially the intent is to try to save those and save that investment. I will mention, which I guess I failed to mention earlier, the academic wing on the front of the building is 2 stories. So the first floor will essentially repeat on top, and then that student union space will be a high volume with windows up high over the existing roofs to let daylight in, and will connect to that second floor of the classroom addition. I believe this blasted out on your guys' social media last week. This is a preliminary kind of conceptual rendering what we're hoping to achieve. We still have a lot of work to do to figure out how this how that gets put together, as well as meets our budget. But I think it's something that we're really excited about, something that's unique for Silver Creek and kind of expresses a real sense of identity and place for you guys here. Moving on to phase 2. We'll start with the high school athletic field improvements. As when we originally started this project last spring, when this was the high school football field was supposed to be the first kind of thing we hit right out the gate. As soon as we got into it, we found some additional design issues there that kind of made us rethink this process due to some IHSA standards and some functional issues at those fields. So the new layout, which I'll show you here shortly, will include a new football stadium and track, include synthetic turf on the football field, new baseball field, new softball field. Both of those will likely have synthetic turf if dollars are available, or we'll bid those as alternates to see if we can afford them. There'll be a new baseball, softball support building, new ticket booths and stadium entrance, and then we'll be fencing the athletic complex to help the sport and athletics guys raise money through their admissions. So this is a kind of a master plan view of the high school middle school and elementary campus. We are rotating and shifting the football field to the north end. This has allowed us to create a track and field space that's large enough for soccer to be housed here as well. And from a drainage standpoint, we can use the construction underneath the field for stormwater detention under that synthetic turf, which will be helpful in this location as the site slopes that direction. So there were a whole bunch of reasons that kind of led us into this solution. To do that, though, we do displace the current baseball field, so that will be rebuilt to the south. And then the new softball field, which was originally planned to be built over at the primary school, there's enough space to keep it on this campus. So that keeps all of our high school athletics on the west side of campus, which we think is a really good thing. There will be some minor reconfiguration to the transportation center. Long term, we still see that going off site to the property that the board is, or that the school district has purchased. It'll just be a time frame and funding question. The last thing I'll note on this plan is many people, especially elementary school parents, will notice that the drop-off loop around the high school is gone. So we are going to replicate what we call a Mike's Car Wash approach to drop-off, where we'll have multiple lanes for queuing across the front or west side near 31, and then you'll be funneled into a single line as you go through the drop-off loop at the elementary school. We are losing a good amount of parking with the new building additions, and there are plans to address that in the future. The next phase 2 portion, which I mentioned earlier, is the auditorium and performing arts addition. So plans are for a new 500 to 600 seat auditorium, new band room, new choir room, new multi-purpose performing arts space, and then 5 practice rooms. There's also some office, music storage, marching band storage, and all of their support areas that they need for those programs. The multi-purpose room is really for current music history, and courses like that, as well as for a future orchestra program should one develop. Choir and band rooms are significantly larger than the ones today, as well as much higher volumes, which is better acoustically for those spaces. And I'll mention the multi-purpose and choir room areas are actually being built within the existing auditorium space, so we're capitalizing that existing square footage and height out of that room. The next part of phase 2 will be the middle school addition. The middle school addition will also include band and choir room spaces, 2 new Project Lead the Way labs, and 6 new classrooms. This is what that proposed addition will look like. The current band and choir rooms at the middle school are really not designed for band and choir purposes, so that's kind of what led us to put the band and choir spaces in that new square footage that we're adding. We can do higher volumes, which is better acoustically and functionally for those programs. Additionally, Project Lead the Way areas don't really have a designated spot. They're operating out of kind of an existing classroom area, so again, that allows us to design specific spaces for those functions and programs, and then repurpose the areas that those are currently housing in the middle school for new classroom space. So we're kind of 2 birds, 1 stone. We're adding the spaces that need specific things, and then gaining additional classroom space. So the light blue area in the existing middle school footprint you see there, those are new classrooms that are coming from the choir room and existing band room. To the right of the screen, you'll see the second floor. This is a 2-story addition. The existing middle school is 2 stories, so it was a real easy add-on there. So there's an additional 3 classrooms on the second floor, some mechanical support space. And then the red spaces you kind of see sprinkled throughout there are either offices or small group areas. Those are for specialists or pull-out of students who need additional help. They just kind of free up some classroom space throughout the rest of the existing building. So again, it gains this capacity in that building without actually adding full-size classrooms. And the last piece of phase 2 is the primary school addition. 16 new classrooms. There'll be 12 to bring second grade over from the elementary school, as well as 2 for first grade and 2 for kindergarten. That essentially brings the primary school up to a 12 section per grade level setup. There'll be 1 new teacher workroom. We'll be doing a new playground and new perimeter safety fence around the playground, as well as the existing soccer field. From a site planning perspective, that's what this looks like. You can see the darker orange color there is the new 1-story addition. replicating the existing kind of footprint of the current building. The classrooms will be replicated to match as well, so that any of these wings could really operate as kindergarten, first or second grade, depending on what best works for the school. And then to the left, you'll kind of see that purple and gray areas where we're looking at new playgrounds. That was kind of twofold. One, obviously the new addition is going to go right over the top of the existing playground, as well as we're going to have to add additional capacity at that playground anyway, because we're bringing the additional students from the elementary school. And then the red line kind of outlines that area. That's that perimeter fencing I mentioned, that allows the primary school to use that open area for play throughout the day, being secured. And then I'll look at the floor plan for this addition. Again, right now we're stipulating that kindergarten and first grade kind of stay where they are. And then second grade is part of that new addition. We did relocate the current pre-K classrooms out to the new addition so that the new kindergarten classrooms could take the place of where those pre-K classrooms are and be closer to the other kindergarten classrooms, as well as the two first grade classrooms or the first classrooms in that new addition, so they're closer to the first grade classrooms. And that's really, I'm happy to take questions if there are any, but that's the plan at the moment.
Really have a question. Just maybe if you could elaborate a little more. You know, because when we originally saw the design of the athletic fields and the multi-playing surfaces, we questioned moving the football field. And I want anybody that looks at that there's expense with doing so. But it almost had to be done because of the limited amount of space we have. Can you explain a little bit about how adding additional square footage required a retention pond or drainage? And since we didn't have the space to put a retention pond, we had to do something, and that's where you guys came up with the design. If we move the football field, you can utilize underneath the stadium as a runoff.
Sure. So obviously the existing high school building was built before stormwater detention ordinances were in place in Sellersburg. So the site currently has no stormwater detention. Current ordinance requires you to capture all water from your site that's running off before it can be released through a natural drain at a certain rate. So because of those stipulated requirements, any new non-permeable surface area, so whether that's building, parking lot, and then synthetic turf is one of those criteria that's considered impermeable, you have to provide detention for that. There are different types of detention. The most common and least expensive is the detention or retention pond on your site. So that's, you see those in housing additions and commercial developments all the time. They come with their own problems on a school project, but additionally on a campus that's this tight in terms of space already. So trying to locate that somewhere where it made sense was going to be a challenge. Additionally, in starting this project with the football field, the natural drain for this site goes north towards Dryer Farms. So there was really no way to, put that detention at the top of the hill, essentially, because water runs downhill. So it just logically made a lot more sense for the detention to happen on the north side of the site rather than at the south. So in addition to those considerations, as I mentioned, the bringing soccer, having space for soccer to fit within that track, and then the existing track design, the way it was installed did not meet current IHSA standards. And in order for us to bring it to that standard would have been fairly costly and required some additional ramping because of the grade around the track. Not to say that it couldn't be done, but at that point you're replacing the track, you're replacing the football field. And so you're already making a significant investment, and we wanted to make sure that, is this the right spot for the stadium long-term for that investment? We are looking at some cost savings here and there for that relocation. The plan is to relocate the current home grandstands to be the visitor grandstands at the new location. So they'll be disassembled and then moved and reassembled. Looking at reusing the press boxes if we can, as well as possibly reusing the lighting if we can. And some of that's a cost benefit analysis that we'll do with Skillman. Does it make sense to pay to disassemble and reassemble something? Is the labor more expensive than if we just buy it new and replace it? So, but our hope is to try to find the most cost-effective solution for those.
Perfect. Any questions for Brett or Victor's also? Do you have anything, Victor, that you're presenting or just here for questions?
I'll just tell the board that the two things we're responsible for is budget and schedule. And we are on the schedule that we provided to you in December in terms of we will be bidding this project in multiple pieces and parts. So we'll be coming to the board, I think you recall, in June with a package, two important pieces. Our plan is to bid the athletic facilities as a bid package that we'll be putting out. They'll come to the board with, after we receive public bids, they'll be received here at the school district and vetted by us and then proposed to you. We'll also be, we're going to be proposing to bid the structural steel for the high school. As you're familiar with, I'm sure, is the delays in the delivery of materials. We want to get that steel ordered, especially with escalation of prices. The earlier you buy it, the better it is for the school district. And finally, I'll mention in terms of budget, we have in our office a set of preliminary drawings, what we would call design development, or about 50% complete drawings of the athletic facilities, and we'll be completing an estimate here in the next week or so, just to make sure the design is progressing on the budgets and the estimates that we provided you at the end of the last year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Brett or Victor? I want to thank you guys for all the work you've put in, and look forward to a successful project.
It's been our pleasure, and I will say, having interacted with a lot of your staff over the last 6-8 months, you've got a lot of great people that work here and love this school. So we're excited about this project too.
We agree.
We agree.
Moving on, just to share some condolences. First, we want to send our condolence to Beth Robleth on the loss of her grandmother, Lena Thompson. Then also our condolences to Rebecca Lee on the loss of her mother-in-law. At this time, Curriculum and Student Services, Mrs. Hawkins.
Good evening, everyone. We'll start tonight with the spotlight. Tonight I want to recognize Sarah Drago Smith. Sarah joined Silver Creek Elementary staff this year as an English learner teacher. She has done an amazing job managing a caseload of over 70 EL students at this point, making sure that goals are communicated and monitored, staff are supported, and students are receiving their much needed instruction to help develop their language. Over the past couple of weeks, she has been working to complete the WIDA assessment with all of our EL students and has managed to work a flexible schedule to help navigate school closures and quarantine students. So we're very excited to see the progress that our EL students make this year. Thank you, Sarah, for your vision and leadership. Silver Creek School Corporation, EL students and families are blessed to have Ms. Drago Smith working to support their needs. So she is our spotlight this evening. Some updates for the board. After collaboration with the SCTA, we recently released a new e-learning schedule for middle and high school students. Feedback that I've received so far indicates that student attendance was better and that students appreciated the scheduled breaks away from the screen time. Although we all prefer having students in person, we do continue to learn and adapt this alternative setting and style of learning for times when we're not able to have in-person instruction. Our spring 2022 committees will be EL, mental health, and high ability. And so this afternoon, I received notification that our membership requirements for the SCTA have been met. So those meetings will start to be scheduled by the end of this week. At those meetings, we will be celebrating the work and growth that we've made over the last year in each one of those areas. And we'll also be discussing additional needs and revising our 1-3-5 year plans. So we would love to have any collaboration, any support with those committees. We would also invite parents that if you would be interested in engaging with that process with us, to please reach out to your school's principal, or you can reach out to any of us at the central office, and we'll get you contact information for joining. Social Studies Textbook Adoption Committee. We've completed the collaboration rubrics with our staff. And so during the month of February, we'll be evaluating textbooks. And so again, I just want to say that we would welcome any parental participants to that. The time commitment is small, but the input is essential to the adoption cycle. So again, parents that are interested, board members that are interested, if you would just reach out to your building principal or contact us at the administration office, and we'll get you information about how to participate on that committee as well. Our health team final immunization letters were sent out the week of January 24th. And so we're happy to report that at this time, no students have had to be excluded from school. So as always, we want to thank our health team members for all of their hard work on this, and also thank our parents for taking the time to communicate with our health team members regarding the status of their child's state-required immunizations. The third quarter publication of the Silver Creek Scoop was recently released to parents and staff via Infinite Campus. This is a newsletter put out by our homeschool liaison and school counselors at each level. You can find the third quarter version and 2 other versions for the 21-22 school year on the homepage of the Silver Creek School Corporation website under the quick links. The end of the third 9 weeks is Friday, March 11th. So just want to let parents know about that report cards will be coming home, or will be final grades will be available in Infinite Campus. And then we do spring is always statewide assessment season in schools. So WIDA is happening. It's been happening January and February. We have SATs that'll be happening in March. I Read 3 will also be happening in March. I Learn will be in April and May. So that's all of my updates for tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. Hawkins. Any questions in regards to board updates on curriculum and student services? All right, Mr. Balmer, Finances and Operations.
Yes, good evening. We'll start with our monthly financial report. As I submitted my activity report, I kind of inherited how we have been doing this in the past, which is to give year to date and period to date, which is your monthly updates with all revenues and expenditures. And kind of reviewing that process, I really feel like to paint a better picture for the board and our community. What I would like to do is moving forward is to simply give our beginning balance, look at where we are currently within our budget year, which is 2022. So going along, giving our to-date expenditures and revenue, and then looking at our percent spent in the operation and education fund, so you know exactly where we are based on what the DLGF has appropriated us to spend, where we are percent spent. And I just feel like that'll give us a better picture and maybe not quite as many numbers to juggle and figure out what I'm saying here. So, of course, I'm always open to feedback if you would like any changes to those. So beginning with that, we'll start with our education fund. Our beginning balance, which means what we began our 2022 school year, 2022 in January, was $6,466,939.02. So what we have in revenue for this year, or what we've received we have received $1,740,964.40. Our expenditures are $1,604,583.57. And we have an ending balance of $5,161,124.45. And looking at, you saw that the revenue did exceed our expenditures. So the reason that the balance has went down is because of that 1,300 fund. We did have to pay our final payment on that of $1.4 million, right at $1.4 million. That is completely reconciled at this point. We have receipted in Borden and Henryville's portion of that, so that is zeroed out, and we were done with the 1,300, and now we'll have an accurate cash balance in our education fund. I'll no longer have to tell you, hey, there's an exception because of the 1,300. So when looking at our percent spent at this point in our education fund, we're 6.7% spent. Expected percent spent is 7.69%. So good. We're off to a good start. We're actually under our appropriations in the education fund. Moving to operations. Right now, our beginning balance for January was $4,530,176.97. Our year-to-date revenue, or what we've received in so far, $302,607.03. Our expenditures to date, $429,146.60. We have an ending balance in our operation fund of $4,403,637.40. Percent spent to this point, 5.3%. And again, expected percent spent there, 7.69. So again, we're spending under our appropriated amount, which is good news. Again, anytime if you're going to go over those appropriations, you do have to file that with DLGF to ask for additional appropriations. And as mentioned in our Board of Finance, we are likely to do that later this year. We'll discuss that as review due to the additional payment for the 1300 fund and the 2 debt payments that we were off, which were not by much, but we'll still have to file for an appropriation, but we'll address that later on. Moving into operations, as most know, we faced a very some tough circumstances with the recent ice storm. Snow is one thing, but when you're also dealing with quite a bit of ice on top of that, it makes for a very difficult situation. So I just wanted to recognize our operations staff for their long weekend of doing their best to remove ice, to salt, and working all weekend long to do everything to make sure we could to function and run school on Monday. So there was a lot of extra hours spent, a lot of labor spent to make sure we cleared all that off. There were some lessons learned with equipment and those types of things, and meeting with Adam, our facilities director, that as we move forward, some things we'll probably do different. But again, snow is one thing, a lot of ice is different. So hats off to them for getting that cleared off and making school was ready to go. I also want to highlight a recent update to our auxiliary gym at our high school. We replaced all that lighting, the old lighting ballast, with LED lights. So we have upgraded that, which we think has just been, we've heard a lot of from athletes, from coaches, and from parents and guardians. They appreciate that. This was very made due to, at the most cost-effective way. This was the total project cost was $5,500 in all. We did install this in-house. We were receiving a $1,800 rebate back right off the top just for the energy upgrade. We have an estimated cost savings of $3,007 a year in energy we'll be saving with the LED lights. And we anticipate that we'll pay for this project. The project will pay for itself in 14 months. And then from that point on, we'll have an annual savings of $3,007. So again, this was done in-house. It did take some time, especially with operation shortages, but again, hats off to them for getting those done, and a great upgrade for Aux Gym. Speaking of operation shortages, again, we do feel like some relief is coming there. Again, with our student workers, we want to thank our HR director, Ms. Miller, and of course Adam as well, in working hard to go through the Department of Labor and jumping through the hoops to get it where our student workers 16 and up can help. And we are on the process, are getting very close to feeling like we can implement that. But at the same time, we've also had an influx of applicants for our 7 operation laborers that we've not been able to fill. We've had 6 applicants that we'll be reviewing and interviewing soon. We still think there will definitely be a need for our student workers, but again, ultimately the goal is to fill those. And so we're very happy to see on both avenues that we got plans to help with these shortages. And as mentioned, during these shortages, what's been going on a while, we've really been very lucky to have teachers, instructional assistants, other staff that have been willing to chip in without even asking, and just doing what it takes to continue to keep our buildings clean. So I do thank them and recognize them at this time. And that's all my updates for finance and operations. Thank you. Any questions?
I do. I have a couple questions. Thank you, Mr. Ballmer. First, I know at the end of December there was supposed to be a fund that Borden, Henryville, and Silver Creek School Corporation shared for claims from insurance purposes. At one point in time, there was $600,000 or so in there, and we were due to receive 60% of the leftover balance. Where do we stand with that?
Yes, I just was in touch, I guess, with their deputy treasurer, which was Patty Kelly, and working with Matt Reese, and that is being settled. There's one more claim that came last second. I still anticipate that. I've not been given a final amount. My understanding is that amount still remains around $600,000, and it's supposed to be reconciled by the end of February. So we should be receiving in the 60% of what is remaining of that balance. Once again, I have not been given a total. I've been told there was an additional claim, but I've not been given a total amount. But I have been following up with them and plan to continue to follow with them. But as last heard, we should receive in our 60% by the end of February.
That's great. I just didn't want to lose sight of it since we're not managing that ourselves. And
absolutely.
And that was actually before your time and even Dr. Briggs's time
Yes.
coming in.
Yep.
The other question on the operations side, we talked about the snow and ice removal. We have basically five buildings that we're responsible for as far as sidewalk clean up, parking lots and whatnot. With our operations shortage, instead of putting that burden on the one or two people in a building, have we looked at subcontracting that out to some? I know we have trucks that have a plow and can spray salt, but there are companies out there that they do this for a living, and they could probably clean it a whole lot faster and a lot easier than having our staff out there with shovels and breaking their backs to do so. Have we looked at outsourcing that and how much that would cost?
I have not. We did work with the contractor this last because we did have some equipment break down that we had to get some salting. So we do have one contractor that I know we could call on. But in meeting with Mr. Farley this Monday, we have a weekly facilities meeting. We looked at what equipment we currently have and some equipment we can continue to install, and feel like we can cover, especially with the additional operation laborers that are coming on. I'm not if that is something that the board would wish me to do, but as I'm glad to do that, but I currently feel like, especially in meeting him and kind of going over the plan and kind of some things we could have done a little different and tweaked to maximize our staffing, I feel like we can cover it at this time. Again, if it's a huge ice storm, we may have to consider working with the company that we just worked with, or possibly outsourcing some of it, just because ice removal is very difficult.
Ice is
But I
more
definitely think
difficult than
we're prepared to handle snow.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd just like to add on to that. I think that would be important to, have a backup like that. I know we also have the education center, and we want to be just as timely cleaning it as we do the other campuses. And so maybe, having that added contractor that can do that, can help us with that, would be a good idea.
So our CFO doesn't have to grab a shovel on a Sunday?
Yes.
I think a lot of times those companies too, if they anticipate storms coming in, we can sign the contract in advance that says, if it's predicted that 3 inches are coming, they're going to be out there kind of fighting it off in the middle of the night. Whereas you guys are kind of more so responding to it. And once it's down, it's harder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can lay the salt before it starts and such. Being proactive.
Thank you, Mr. Malmer. Any other questions? All right. Beth, do we have any community input signings? Anybody that's in attendance that hasn't signed up, it's time for our community input. We welcome you that after we get done with whomever or however how many are on the list, we still welcome you to sign up. Okay. Michelle Hatfield, if you will, take the podium. And Ms. Hawkins, if you would put 3 minutes on the clock and give a notification at the 1 minute mark.
First, I just want to thank everybody for your time and everything that you guys do for our children. I know this is, you guys care a lot about them. I'm here today. I've emailed Mr. Cyphers, Ms. Myers, and Dr. Briggs over the past few days, and I've got a response where I'm a little concerned about. And I know we all care for our kids, but I think we've gone past the point of common sense at this point. The door says when you enter the elementary school, masks on for everyone. And multiple times, I've got so many photos. I've got so many photos from other parents, from students even, of the staff. And I will say Mr. Cyphers always has his mask on, 110% of the time. I have never seen the man without a mask on. I couldn't tell you what he looks like. But you go in and the office staff doesn't wear one. There's children in the room with them that have masks on, and they're telling the kids, pull your mask up. Imagine being the parent of a 4th grader that comes home crying because they wear glasses and they were not allowed to have recess because they pulled their mask down below their nose so that they could read their chapter book because their glasses were fogging up. The teacher said, pull your mask up, pull your mask up. And they didn't pull the mask up because their glasses kept fogging up. So they're not able to read. How do you explain to that 4th grader that every single one of you, I have photos of almost every single one of you out in public, in buildings, with multiple people in huge groups, not wearing masks? but you want these kids to wear a mask, listen, if you want to wear a mask, wear one. But if you don't want your children to wear one, the health department is on the list too. And I've already gone down there, already contacted them, and the news station is next because there needs to be enough parents that know and discuss this and talk about it, because is COVID only around 7:45 a.m. Monday through Friday to 3:30 p.m.? My husband and I are trying really, really hard, along with so many other parents, to follow the rules and the guidance that you put forth. But when Miss Myers, I have an email from her, you have it too, Dr. Briggs, that says the staff doesn't have to wear it if there's not children around. Oh, I'm sorry. Does the staff not spread COVID when they don't have their mask? You can have your three. You're not Miss Myers. Sorry. You're not Miss Myers. Wherever she is. So sorry. You have your mask on, so I don't know who you are. So COVID doesn't spread around teachers. It doesn't spread around staff. One of the reasons given was because the teachers can't hear on the phone. Do you think the kids can hear? Sporting events, staff events, everything else. Monday through Friday, we have kids in masks. It's time to end the nonsense. It's ridiculous. If you want to wear one, wear it by all means. And if they work, then the people wearing them won't get sick. I'm not here to debate the science and all of that, but the hypocrisy, I'm over all of it. And I'm standing here up for our children and all of the parents who aren't here right now. This is outrageous. Where are we on this?
Thank you for your time. We had a COVID update at the beginning of the meeting where Dr. Briggs updated where we were. We are looking at our policy. And you can understand a lot of this falls at the state level where the governor has issued orders. Our intent is to keep kids in the building as much as possible.
In a mask policy. Aren't they on the same state that we are, the city governor?
We can't answer for what any other school district does. We can only speak about our.
In their building. But they're giving out that guidance. So what we would like as parents is for the parents to stand up for the students and say, listen, if you want to wear it, great. If you don't, that's your choice. It's gotten to the point where it's, should I quote Newsom? I mean, I'm holding my breath when I'm standing in front of people and don't have my mask on. I mean, are we going to do it or are we not? Where are we here on this? It's frustrating, and it's well beyond let's wear our mask. I mean, it's hypocritical at this point because you have so many people in this room. I have the photos in public settings, not wearing them around multiple people, but you want to force the children to. You don't even want to do what the children are doing. Miss Myers doesn't even want to do that. Haven't gotten a response from her or you, Dr. Briggs.
Yeah.
I'm very frustrated. And so are so many parents, and so are so many children.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Dr. Briggs, consent agenda?
Yes, thank you. So consent agenda, we have under 9A finances, numbers 1 through 6. And under number 6, we have numbers 1 through 9. Letter C, personnel, we have numbers 1, A, B, B1, C, and C1. Roman numeral 2, we have letter A, and then 1, 2, and 3, letter B, and number 1. We have number 4, ECA, letters A and B. And then under E, other, we have numbers 1 and 2 for the consent agenda. Thank you.
Any questions on the consent agenda? We have a motion to bring it to the floor.
I'll make that motion.
Ms. Franklin makes a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Ms. Bright seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Sorry, I gotta get back to the right here. All right, under number 10, discussion action items. The very first one under A is classified appointment. You've seen in your board packet the request from the hiring committee to approve Casey Drain as the Silver Creek School Corporation Director of Health Services, posting 0136. effective yesterday, February 14th, 2022. Do we have a motion to bring that to the floor?
Also move.
Mr. Grohl makes a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Ms. Bright seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Any abstains?
Abstain.
Motion carries 4-0 with one abstain. Next is the request to adopt a resolution for a preliminary resolution approving project setting dates and preliminary determinations for a 1028 hearing, authorizing the reimbursement of expenses from bond proceedings. Basically, this is, as you saw at the very beginning, a presentation from CSO and Skillman on the building projects. What we have determined, and part of the reason why this has taken a little longer than we expected, was the fact that we are basically way over the budget that was set, that we came in 2017 and 2019 when these projects were talked about. Part of that is just the material costs that have increased since COVID became a pandemic. So with that, the board is discussing and will hold a 1028 hearing to try to authorize more money for the building projects. While doing so, we want to remain as diligent as possible in preserving our taxpayers' money. So we have a firm working on that right now. But the board is pretty much at the point where if we're going to do this and we have money to do a lot of the project, we don't want to stop short and not do it right. That's been done too many times. There's been too many cosmetic updates without fixing internal and problems such as plumbing and electrical. And we need to do it right. And the growth of this community with the housing developments coming in and the other developments that of apartments that have gone up in Sellersburg, we are expecting a pretty significant increase in the next 5 to 7 years. Excuse me, 5 to 7 years, if not sooner. So we need to do it. We need to do it right. So that is what this, just for public's perspective, that's what the 1028 hearing is for. And tonight we'll adopt a resolution for that process. We have a motion to adopt the resolution for the 1028 hearings.
Also move.
Mr. Grohl makes a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Basham seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Ms. Bright, do you have any legislative updates, information right now, especially concerning House Bill 1134, before we vote on the resolution?
Yeah, I'll give a quick update on some others and leave 1134 for the last one.
That's fine.
As legislative liaison, from time to time, I'll be giving updates on bills that are in the legislative process. I have been to the State House this week, and although there are several, I'm just going to highlight a few and just briefly give you the facts on them. So one is House Bill 1251. It's called the Various Education Matters Bill that's being considered. With this bill, it would allow schools to hire what's called an adjunct teacher. This teacher would basically have a degree in something, say chemistry or math, or maybe not math, but chemistry or nursing or something like that, but not a teaching degree. They won't have pedagogical training, classroom management training, or engagement lessons and things like that in their background, and they would not be required to do so, as are those who come in under like an emergency license are required to do so. So that's on the books right now, and it's going through the legislative process. Then there's the House Bill 1130, which just partnered or has a twin bill, Senate Bill 83, regarding public comment at public meetings such as board meetings. really wouldn't affect us either way because we allow board comment. In fact, we even increased our board comment to where our stakeholders can speak even at emergency sessions and special meetings and things like that. But that is going through a legislative process. And then we have House Bill 1072. This is called the School Referendum Levies Bill. This one is, I would say, pay very close attention to this one. It would allow for a school district at any time would need to do a referendum. I'm just going to throw some numbers out to give you an example. Say a school district decided they needed 50 million to do a project. They've gone through all the process and they found that's what they need to be able to, get done what they need to. So they go into the referendum process and they raise the 50 million. Let's say they have 3,000 students in their district. Let's say 300 of them go to charter schools. And when I say go to charter schools, I don't mean within the district necessarily, just any charter school. It could be in a different county. But if they go to a different charter school, then money would be given to them, to those schools also. So in this example, you have the traditional public school that needs 50 million. You've got 300 students that are going to a charter school that live in that district. Each student, when you average that 50 million among the 3,000 students, is 16,000 per student. So of the 300, you would have to times that by 16,000, which averages out, or that calculates out, to around 5 million. So out of your 50 million, about 5 million would go to the various charter schools. Now, they would not necessarily have to spend it in the same way that you're spending it. They can decide how they spend it. If you're spending it on a capital project or a safety project, we have to disclose that. They would not, they could put it on their website or such, but it would not be on the ballot as to how they would be spending it. I hope that was clear. Y'all can email me if it wasn't, and I'll try to be more clear. But the money gets divided. There's an average per student, and then it travels with that student. Then there's the House Bill 1134. I'm going to skip that one for just a moment. And then Senate Bill 82, it would require counselors to meet with every single parent at the high school level and work with them on the FAFSA form, which we know would be an inundating process. But that is on the books also. Did you want me to go on to 1134 at this point?
If you want to just give kind of a brief overview of what 1134 is.
Yeah, so 1134 has a lot of components to it. Right now it's at about 34 pages. It has a lot of things in it. I'll just briefly touch on it because otherwise I could talk for an hour. One thing is it would, it kind of, honestly, it deals with things that we already have things in place for. One thing is surveys, not allowing students to be surveyed without parental consent. That's actually already a thing. It would allow, so if there's a curriculum committee, like we talked about, Ms. Hawkins brought up curriculums being looked at. We currently offer and invite parents in on that. This bill would actually tip the scales so that it is more parents than educators that are deciding on the curriculum. It also would allow parents to bring legal action against teachers. And then the school corporations would have to pay the legal fees on that. Teachers could lose their licenses. And we have talked collectively on this, and as a board, we are in opposition to House Bill 1134. Our teachers are trained professionals. They follow state standards. They teach the state standards. They're evaluated by their principals. We have a curriculum director. our superintendent is a curriculum director. So there's a lot of pieces about this that we feel like it's not appropriate and that we're in opposition of it. And because of that, and because we feel so strongly on it, we are voting on a resolution on that tonight to stand in solidarity against this bill and to stand for our students and staff and teachers and the community actually as a whole.
I'd like to touch base on, there's also part on that bill where a parent could actually have their child opt out of the class that day. How would that student make up that day's learning? That's still, I know Rachel and I was at Indy Day, and this bill's actually coming on the floor tomorrow, but we were also told today that there's been several amendments that they're hoping will soften this bill. I think in the long run, there's going to be some sort of form of it, but the final draft is still up in the air. She also touched on an issue. We found out today that the governor of Oklahoma just opened the door for any state employee to be a sub-teacher in school, state employee. That was also told to us today up there. So, you know, we know all across country there is a issue on teacher shortage, and a law like this would discourage people getting into ed and some wanting to opt out. You know, we know our teachers is burdened now with paperwork, and this bill could really add more load. So I would encourage you to call our state senator and our House rep and discourage them to vote against these type bills.
Yeah, and I'd like to add on to that. He said it's being heard tomorrow in the Senate, and so I will be there to testify against that and represent our board in that testimony in opposition of it.
Any other questions or comments? All right, so do we have a motion to bring to the floor the resolution opposing Indiana House Bill 1134?
Also move.
Mr. Girl makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Franklin seconds. All of those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. At this time, it's time for our building administrators and our directors for their school reports. First up, do we have Ms. Campbell from the primary school?
Okay, we good? All right. Hello, good evening. I'm Abby Campbell. I'm the principal at Silver Creek Primary School. I want to start off by congratulating one of our teachers. Sarah Snyder is a first grade teacher at SCP, and she just had a new baby girl, Eleanor, and we're so happy to welcome her to the Silver Creek Primary family, as well as the Silver Creek School Corporation family as well. I do want to also take a second and recognize Lacey Niehaus. Last week was National School Counselors Week. Lacey wears many hats at the primary, and one of those absolutely is to provide support for our students, our staff. She's an integral part of what we do. So we recognized her last week. I just wanted to take a second and do so this evening. Also, Silver Creek Primary will be kicking off our Read Across America Week on Wednesday, March 2nd. This is a big deal for all schools, but especially for primary schools. Everything we do is about literacy and learning and really laying that foundation for learning to read. And so we're going to be kicking this off March 2nd, which is also Dr. Seuss's birthday. We will be celebrating with a book swap during library. We will be celebrating with birthday cake during lunch for all students, served by some pretty wonderful staff members. We will also be having green eggs and ham as our breakfast choice that day for students. And they think the green eggs are really cool, but I don't know that they eat them. but they think they're neat. And then we're also kicking off our readathon event, courtesy of our PTO, where our students and families will be logging their reading minutes in the evenings, and then turning in reading tickets for a raffle drawing. So anything we can do to really support the idea of reading and literacy. And then lastly, our librarian, Mrs. Ashley Davidson, has decided to do a book character bracket to go along with March Madness. So you're welcome to come by. It will be in our hallway outside our library, and our students will be voting for our favorite book character. So it'll be interesting to see who wins our version of Read Across America March Madness. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Campbell? I would like to wager on the bracket though, so if you can.
Yeah, my wagers.
I'll book it.
You will. Okay. I'm thinking Pete the Cat, Mr. Roundtree. Pete the Cat, probably.
All right, Ms. Myers or Mr. Cyphers for the elementary school.
Thank you. I'm John Cyphers from Silver Creek Elementary School. Mrs. Myers could not be here tonight. She's in attendance at a funeral. But we would like to first recognize our Silver Creek Elementary is hosting a food drive to support our Silver Creek School's food pantry. This began on Monday, February 14th. Students have been asked to bring in items to help stock the shelves of the SC food pantry. This is a time of year when the pantry really needs our help. The theme of the food drive is Give from the Heart. SCE families will be asked to send in non-perishable items to show compassion and charity by sharing what we can in order to help those in need. We'd like to thank Mrs. Mabe for helping out with that at school. In addition, SCE Students Council is selling student-designed pens to support St. Jude Children's Hospital. The students voted on the organization they wanted to support in the pen design. Lydia Kelly, SCE fifth grade student, designed the pen, and we're proud of their vision and drive to support this wonderful cause. In addition, we would like to recognize our students for our Dragon Pride initiative. We've been focused on that this month. And the students that are being recognized include Lincoln Price, Eli Chandler, Kinley Mobley, Lucy Kaufman, Annalyn Jackson, Jace McRae, Caleb Mayer, Zane Simpson, Riley Payton, Eli Montez, Kobe Mitchell, Kendall Crawl, Brady Horseman, Curtis Short, Caden Pierce, Riker Alday, Candace Linderman, Eli Lawrence, Zoe Haven, Emma Prout, Fadi Aljanabi, Jackson Cobble, Haley Dorr, Haley Underhill, Grayson Owen, Kenneth Popico, Brooklyn Coughlin, Cooper Day, Aaron Bordenkircher, Lainey Feldman, Zane Savage, Amy Brown, Carter Frankie, and Paisley Morris. Thank you very much.
Any questions for Mr. Cyphers? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Nunn's here from the middle school.
Good evening. I too would like to recognize our school counselors, Jill Gerlach and Haley Little. Anybody who's spent any time in middle school knows how truly invaluable their services are to our students and our staff. So I would like to thank them for their efforts every day to help us win our school. I'd also like to say good luck. I think our 7th grade team has probably already determined its outcome, but our 7th and 8th grade boys basketball teams are competing in the Clark Floyd championship tonight at Scribner. So I hope they're doing well. I'd also like to take a moment to thank our incredible PTO and our parent volunteers. For the first time in a long time, our students were able to spend some time with their friends because of the hard work and the hours and hours of time our adults put in so that they could host a Valentine's Day dance. This was one of the first times students could be with their friends, be together again. And if anybody saw the transformation of our school, it was incredible. So I want to thank everybody for helping out with that. I would also like to spotlight our choral and instrumental arts classes. Our SCMS students have competed in the ISMA or ISSMA solo and ensemble competitions. And I'd like to recognize the SCM students who participated and who were recognized. We have a state qualifier in the gold rating. Mackenzie Bevan was part of a flute choir. For gold rating, we had Brady Miller for a trumpet solo, Noah McCrocklin for a trumpet solo, Dane Neefus for a trumpet solo, Alan Roeder for an alto sax solo, Mackenzie Miller for an alto sax solo, Mallory Drake, flute solo, Jacob Daughtery, a snare drum solo. In the silver rating, we had Taryn Pelk for a trumpet solo, Abby Toe, Peyton Bishop as part of a trumpet choir, Tram Pelk, Gabby Dixon, Sam Griffith as part of a bass trio, Noah Stewart, part of a brass quartet. We also had our choir students participate, and the following are all gold medalists: Phoenix Proctor, Logan James, Amber Lamar, Josh Estes, Lily Fouts, Ray Whiteside, Ashlyn Elmore, Will Flowey, Caroline Barenclaw, Alex Dement, Mallory Drake, and Lucy James. I would really like to recognize what an outstanding music department we have, our arts. We're so fortunate to have them at Silver Creek Middle School. Our staff is Jenny Jockum and Jacqueline Caldwell. These ladies take kids who have never touched an instrument before in their life. And anybody who's ever walked by a sixth grade band room in August can appreciate their plight. By December, they have them playing recognizable songs, and we're getting ready in February to have an incredible concert. So what an incredible gift. And again, Mr. Smith, Alex Smith, he is over at the middle school. He's invested in our programs, and he helps out in any way, shape, or form that we have. And so we are very, very blessed to have these wonderful teachers in our building. That is all I have at the middle school. If there's any questions?
Not a question, Mrs. Nunn, but thank you very much. I personally saw you moving furniture and then ending your night around 9:30 in the rain, directing traffic with you and Mr. Troutman to make sure that dance took place. A lot of times those things go overlooked, but thank you very much.
It really was a pleasure. It really was a pleasure
Thank you.
to see the students.
Thanks again. And it's really great to hear about the music, because as a trumpet player myself, I was in that sixth grade level, and I did was really horrible. But I did come out on the bright side of it and actually be a state qualifier as well. So it's a great thing, and I'm glad to hear that.
Is it next Tuesday
Congratulations to
or
all the kids.
Wednesday? Is it Tuesday or Wednesday of next week?
Wednesday is the
The
recital.
It's the
The
recital
recital.
for all the students who participated in the ISSMA.
So that'd be awesome if anybody can attend. That's
It
going to
will
be
be
great.
in our GPR room, and it is free to the public. So come and enjoy.
Dr. Eckert?
Good evening. I've got some recognitions I'd like to make tonight. Our cheerleaders, Silver Creek cheerleaders, were at Disney World in Orlando. They recently returned, and I'm happy to report that they finished in 5th place in the medium game day Division II, making them the second highest ranked team representing the state of Indiana at the national meet. So congratulations to Jennifer Kaufman, her coaches, and the girls on that achievement. Second, I've got, as most of you know, our girls basketball team won the regional on Saturday at Charlestown, coming out on top in 2 hard-fought games. So they're in action Saturday at Jeffersonville High School. So we've been real lucky with kind of having regional and then the semi-state in our own backyard. We haven't had to travel, so that's real nice. But we play Indianapolis Chatard at 3 p.m. On Saturday at Jeff High School, and tickets are available online, but they'll also be available at the door, and they'll actually take cash if you have it. Number 3, and I'd like to echo what Ms. Nunn said. We're very lucky to have Alex Smith and Jenny Jocham and all the people that help out with our choir, our band, and some of our other things. One item I'd like to report is recently our Winter Guard and percussion groups both performed at North Harrison. This was last weekend. The Guard finished 3rd overall and won 1st place in equipment, which I'm not sure what that means. Maybe Mr. Smith can explain that. 1st place in equipment. The percussion was 2nd in their class and won music in their class. This is the first performance for the winter percussion in almost 10 years. We'd like to thank coaches Lindy Lochner and Patrick Reagan with the Guard, and Sarah Shelton, Josh Waters, Ashley Smith, and Whitney Pate with the percussion. And as Ms. Nunn alluded to, there is a performance at the GPR 6:30 on Wednesday night for the solo and ensemble and band, choir, and theater will all be performing. So that should be a good night. Next, I also have some solo and ensemble and choir to recognize tonight. We had 4 people that received Gold Superior ratings for their performances at the contest last Saturday, and those students were Elliot Hammond, Julian Johnson, Kara Camposano, and Sarah Bronner. And then these students received superior ratings in gold in the hardest district grouping in our state bound next weekend in Indianapolis, and they'll be at Perry Meridian High School. But these students are Julian Johnson, Millie Haas, Joy Gillis, Kennedy Freitas, Elijah Reed, Cameron Jane, Bobby Stotts, Ian Couch, Jess Bergstrom, Amanda Massengale, Skylar McDaniel, Caitlin Litch, and Elena Jones. Lastly, we just found out that the Daughters of American Revolution, which is a historic association that's been around for a long time, we did have the Clark County winner in the essay contest, and that was Silver Creek senior Lucas Densford. He won that contest here recently. And him and his parents are invited to a dinner on Saturday to be recognized. That's my report. Thank you.
Any questions for Dr. Eckert?
No, it's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Ms. Granger, anything on update on special ed? All right. Got it. Ms. Hawkins, any final comments?
No, none from me tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Balmer?
It's an opportunity to again thank all our staff for working very hard. Hey,
Always one up you.
kind of want to, but I just think there's a lot of additional efforts that continue to go on. Even though the pandemic's maybe settled down a little bit, I think we just have a health staff and our instructional assistants and teachers that continue to go above and beyond. So I'm very appreciative of them. And again, on our operations staff, I can't thank everyone for all the hard work to get us through as we've been dealing with shortages. So thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Briggs, any final comments?
Mrs. Hawkins didn't know she was going to be asked to speak, and Mr. Balmer was hoping to be asked to speak. Just a couple things. One, thanks to Brent from CSO with his presentation tonight, update for everyone. Congratulations to all of our students and our staff mentioned tonight from the schools. It's nice to sit here for several minutes and listen to the great things going on. And congratulations to Casey Drain. Welcome aboard. Looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Board members, any final comments? Mr. Basham?
Again, I'll just encourage you, call your reps, because the bills that's to be debated yet really affects our staffing.
Ms. Franklin, any comments?
Just want to say thank you to everyone. I want to give a special shout out to Steve Doyle. He does a lot of really nice just kind, heartwarming things, always inclusive of everybody on our campus. Everything from putting what's going on our campus up on that sign, to reaching out to individual people that are working for us, and just he's got an attention to detail that really, I think, helps build morale in our building. So I want to give him a special shout out today. I also want to encourage anybody that's watching online who's got students in Silver Creek Elementary. We've got Dee Kramer back here who runs the Silver Creek Food Pantry. If you can follow online, hit their Amazon link, help provide for that pantry. And then I'd also like to say, Mr. Cyphers, if we can, let's do some pizza parties for the winners in the grade level in the buildings or something. Let's like really fire that up and get the students excited about that. Have a foundation.
They delivered 2 full grocery carts overflow bags of donations, and we received, I believe, 9 Amazon packages.
Awesome.
And it was all just posted yesterday.
Awesome. Yeah.
Mr. Smith, why don't you snap at her?
Yeah, I was waiting. I was waiting on it. She's got Walter.
You're more than welcome to
the
speak,
mic.
but you just have to go to the microphone.
So maybe we can, keep that going, and just, maybe we'll do a pizza party for the winners. Foundation will help get some. We've got enough pizza parlors around here to figure out when we'll get the kids some fun going in with that too. So I love the food pantry. I want to see it go, keep doing well for our students in the community.
Ms. Bright?
Yes, I'd just like to say thanks to the teachers and community members that also went to the State House this week to voice their concerns and talk with their legislators. It's hard enough being a teacher and working the many hours that you do, but then to also take time away from that to travel almost 2 hours away to speak up for your students and your profession. I just really appreciate it.
Mr. Grohl?
Dr. Briggs, I also agree with you. It is really nice to sit here for a few minutes and actually listen to all the great things our kids are doing at every grade level, and truly appreciate the kids for working hard during this pandemic, and also our teachers and administrators. I will ask that we look into the mask. I am one outside of this area that take my mask off. I know it is choice, but I'd also like to see us go back to reviewing our policy we put place and actually created prior to the school year. If a local health official is okay with his students going to a school system that has no mask, I'd like for us to look into that as well. It is at a point where I think we need to really look at who else is affecting, not just us, but I mean, if our kids is the only time they have to wear it and we can't determine when they get it or how they get it afterwards, I think it's time we really need to look into that of going to no mask or mask optional. I also agree with Dr. Eckert that it is very nice that our Silver Creek High School girls basketball team has a local area around here with semi-state. I highly encourage all of our fans to come out on Saturday. It is at Jeff High. This is a local game. The other team does have to travel. Let's show them what we can do. Let's support these girls while they are in the Final Four. So,
But I'd just like to say it's very heartfelt to sit here and listen to all the great things. I think those, what we talked about, and numerous people have said it. A lot of people, they see all the great things that make the paper, like football or basketball or whatnot. But a lot of times your choir and band and so many other great positive things, food pantries, and that doesn't make the news, and it's refreshing to get to hear it at a board meeting. So I love what we've added here, but instead of you just sitting here reading it, actually involving the building administrators. So that's really nice to see. So with that, our next board meeting, we have 2 special board meetings coming up. One's going to be on March 1st, next Tuesday, here at the primary school at 6:30. And then again on that following Monday, March 8th, we'll have another special board meeting here at the primary school at 6:30. And then you can also join in on March 14th at our regularly scheduled board meeting here at the primary school at 6:30. With that being said, do we have you sure can.
Representing us. Joe, thanks for going up there as well. That is very much appreciated, so thank you.
We have a motion for adjournment. I already know who's going to
I
do it.
so move.
There you go. Do we have a second? Mr. Basham seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
I
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned, 8 o'clock.